How's it going, guys? Today I want to talk about why I choose to live in the Philippines. Let's go. So the first reason why I choose to live in the Philippines is for business opportunities. But my story around business in the Philippines didn't quite start off that way. I have a digital marketing agency in California called Purple Cow Agency that I started in 2008. And I would be up really day and night running this agency. I'd work with California employees during the day out of our office in the Silicon Valley, and then at nighttime, to balance out costs, I would outsource work to other countries like India, Russia, Vietnam, Ukraine, and the Philippines. So after a decade of really being up day and night, working with California-based employees and oversource-based contractors, I had enough. And so I decided that I was going to pick one of those countries where I'd worked with people for a long time, open up an office there, and I decided on opening things up in the Philippines. So I made my first trip over to the Philippines in the beginning of 2019, and my thought was just going to be that I was going to work with a team over here managing things, human resources, project management, overseeing the team, and that way I could really cut down on how much I had to be awake at night. But from the very first time I came to the Philippines, I did not want to go back to the US, and so ultimately I came here 3 times in 2019. I set things up with a legal structure called a one-person corporation where a foreigner is allowed to own a business 100%. And I really started to try to figure out how can I make the big move from living in the US to moving over to the Philippines. So by January 2020, I moved things over here, and I've been working out of the office with my team most of that time. The pandemic threw a few difficulties, a few challenges in the road, but we've been working here in the Philippines since 2019. And there's other business opportunities that I'm working on now that I'll share about more in the future. But first, I moved to the Philippines for business opportunities. The second reason why I choose to live in the Philippines is because it feels more like home than my own home. So I'm American. I've also lived in Australia for 10 years before. I've traveled a lot of places in the world, but nowhere feels more like home to me than the Philippines. So I'm an American, but I think on the inside, I feel a lot more Filipino than I feel American. The last place I would probably want to live is in the US or any Western country. The Philippines is really it for me. I just feel relaxed. I feel at peace. I just feel so grateful to live here. And so that's the second reason why I choose to live in the Philippines. It just feels like home away from home. Third reason why I live in the Philippines is it's just so much less stress than living in the US. For whatever reason, I feel like I'm watching my own culture decline in not so slow motion. It's really painful to watch. I love the US. I wish the best for the US, but the levels of stress living there and coping with things there are just so high. And so I choose to live in the Philippines because I want to get away from all the stress, all the toxicity that I see in the US. I'm cheering the US on, really hoping to see things turn around there. But I think not only the US, but really Western culture in general is just so stressful these days, and I prefer to live in a place where the stress is a whole lot lower. Fourth reason why I live in the Philippines is because it's a better type of stress. Now, is that a bit confusing? I just said I live here because it's not as much stress, but now I'm talking about stress in the Philippines. And of course, every country you go, stress will be there, different things will be a challenge. But to me, it's a different type of stress living in somewhere like the Philippines compared to the US, or frankly, a lot of other Western countries. In the Philippines, there is stress that I deal with from day to day, but it really looks like just the way people drive. It looks like long lines sometimes going to a bank. It looks like having to tell people things 18 times, different things like that, that for me are really more just like annoying or irritations. So the kind of stress that I deal with in the Philippines is just kind of stuff that drives me a little bit crazy. On the other hand, the kind of stress that I deal with in the US is like people being so quick to get angry, so quick to yell, so quick to cuss you out, out, so quick to chase after you. So many shootings, so much. The stress in the US is stuff that is far away from just annoyances or difficulties or irritations. It's really deep-seated, big problems that we really need to fix as Americans. And so for me, it's just a totally different type of stress in the US compared to the Philippines. And I will take me some Filipino stress over American stress any day. And so this is also one of the reasons why I choose to live in the Philippines. The fifth reason why I choose to live in the Philippines is, unsurprisingly, the people. There's a lot of other countries that I visited in Southeast Asia, places like Thailand that has so much to offer. I really enjoyed my time there, and some things like the infrastructure and the food, lower prices. There's just things I really like even more about somewhere like Thailand. So why do I live in the Philippines? Well, for me, and this is a huge reason, maybe the number one reason why I live in the Philippines, is just simply the people. I choose the Philippines over somewhere else like Thailand. Love you, Thailanders. I choose the Philippines over the US and really over anywhere else in the world because I just dig the people here. People are very kind, respectful. I mean, it's almost like living in a different parallel universe compared to the US and a lot of other places where you don't hear people yelling at each other. You don't see people getting so quickly mad. It's just really unlike anywhere else that I've ever traveled to or visited. Do people get mad? Are people difficult? Yes, of course, anywhere in the world. But in comparison, it's just, there is no comparison. I can't even one time in 4 years of being here remember hearing one Filipino shouting at another in public or anything like that. I mean, it's really quite unlike anywhere else that I've been, and I just really love the people here. I like how they think. I like how they act. Yes, as I mentioned before, some things drive me a bit crazy, but all in all, I just really love and adore the people here. Last but not least, and this is really something that I would really challenge you to think about, is that life is so short and the world is such a big place. So why would I just want to live in one country during my life? You know, there is so much more to life than the 10, 20 square miles around you, wherever you may be. And it just seems to me a little bit crazy to spend your whole life not living somewhere else for at least a time. As I mentioned, I lived in Australia for 10 years before. That really impacted my thinking a lot. I haven't been back since, which probably tells you a little bit about how I felt living over there for 10 years, but I'm grateful for the experience in Australia as well. But the Philippines is just a great option if you're looking at somewhere quite different than wherever else you're living in the world. I think the Philippines is really a one-of-a-kind country and why I chose to live here as well. So if you already live in the Philippines or you have visited here before, I'd love to know what you think. Drop a comment below. Let me know why the Philippines, why even watch this video. I'd love to get your thoughts. And as always, thanks for taking the time to watch. Take care.